And you mentioned earlier that you have global playbooks. When you were rolling those out, how did you have to shift your strategy?
Yeah. Luckily, it wasn't actually a huge shift. Because we take a very standardized approach, especially when we were just starting out with a couple regions. We took a very standardized approach to having the same tags between playbooks, having similar paths where possible in the playbooks themselves. And really what it took was to standardize that across regions as well. And so once you have that structure in place, you can really start to scale it to the other regions to a certain extent. You always have different trends, different things. You have different, cultural things. You have different intent breakdowns based off of, different business functions, things like that by region. And so you definitely have to listen to that. So like, for example, for us, we noticed that our UK implementation of Drift was seeing a lot more sales relative to support compared to our US implementation. And so we still wanted to make sure that support was taken care of in the chat experience in the UK, but also, we have a slightly larger opportunity for sales on the UK side. And for our Canada region, we have quite a bit of residential security as part of our business there, whereas in the US, it's not as big a part of our business. So we can't, scale direct, a video surveillance commercial playbook directly to Canada without considering that residential market as well. So there's always little nuances between the markets, of course, that you have to listen to and take into consideration as you strategize. But at the core level, at the common denominator, as I would call it, is you have your intents, your content, and your outcomes, which is kind of what it boils down to. Where across all of your conversations across the regions, 80-90% of the conversations that are happening are either going to be sales, educational, or support based. And that's just something that we've found. And so that's, a scalable model that we can look at intent across regions and start to look at trends that way as well. So you scale what you can, and the structure helps with that. But there's also, the subtle differences and things like that. Another big thing that I'll mention is the naming conventions and the data governance. Everything in that is crucial as well. And that's kind of an underrated portion of it, because if you don't keep a structured approach there, then you're going to spend more time trying to figure out what your data even is saying than actually interpreting it and finding the trends. So one example there is we have one account for our global regions. And so all of our playbooks are labeled with the region that they're serving, the purpose of the playbook, and then what type of playbook it is, whether it's for lead generation or if it's a more general purpose playbook, whatever that looks like. That helps us from a data tracking and just an operational perspective, keep everything separated and make sure that everything's organized in a coherent fashion. So there's a lot that goes into it. And we're rolling out a new implementation with our Nordics teams. And, we're taking an approach there where we're taking a very general playbook, kind of like I said before, with taking a general playbook and then letting the data tell us what to personalize from there, because there's going to be those regional differences. And so you kind of have to start at that base level and grow from there.